Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, here on USA Global TV and Radio, do the Wild at Heart show. Wild at Heart, real, authentic, uncut. This is the show for men, by men, about men. And actually, you know, we started almost a year ago, and I'm very, very excited about this show because I strongly believe that men need men to talk. And before we bring the other guys on stage, when you ever missed one of the shows, or maybe you look for the first time, we did many shows, actually almost 50 shows the last year. There's an amazing website. It's called bonfiredocs.com, where you can find all the recordings, where you also can get in contact with myself and the other panelists. If you want to be part of our panelists, you're more than welcome. Also, if you have a topic you want to discuss, it's on bonfiredocs.com. But today we have another amazing topic. The topic today is maybe sound a little bit weird for a man show, but I think it's quite an interesting topic. It's spring awakening. It's spring now. We have April, so it's spring. It's about spring awakening, how we men perceive spring. And as I said, I'm not alone here on the show. I want to welcome a dear friend, a panelist here from the U.S., from Texas, Red.
Howdy, Roland.
Howdy, Red. How you doing, man?
Exceptionally well, as always.
That's good. You know what, Red? You really are a more role model for you. Always positive. I know we always face it, but you're always positive. You always have positive mindset. I highly appreciate it. Absolutely. And great to have you back on the show.
It's always nice to be on your show. It's always nice to be seen. And I'm going to go backstage for just a minute, but I'm going to keep the audio on, hopefully, and see if I can readjust my screen here.
Absolutely. Okay, so we have Red back soon, and yeah, the other guys are off. Maybe Christian is joining us later, but today we only two men discussing spring awakening. Yeah, my name is Roland, and Roland FRIEDL. As you can hear from my accent, I'm not a Native American or a British English speaker. I'm born and raised in a small country in the middle of Europe. And from my background here, I left the corporate world very early, had a very fast career, and I left the corporate world because I love to travel. And actually in Austria, we have 5 weeks of vacation, but it was not enough for me. So I decided to building up my own business in different areas. And right now, my main business background is I have a coaching consulting training company in Switzerland, where we consult and coach international businesses worldwide. That's my main background. And besides that, I dedicate my life to men's work. And that's also where we have to show here. And the reason for that is I'm a man for myself, you know. And I found out that I was suffering, not consciously, but unconsciously, and actually through the feedbacks of one of my relationship, I found out that I really suppressed my emotions. And the reason for that is I had a bad childhood. I want to go too deep. I had a bad childhood, but I also was trained, you know, in school and military and all this stuff, you know, don't show emotions, don't be weak, be strong, boys don't cry. And so I always suppressed my emotions, but it's not really good, because when you suppress your negative emotions, on the long run, you also don't have any access more to the positive emotions, and that's not really good. So And I found out, okay, men need men to talk about their inner world, and that's why I started this, and that's why we do this show here, and to become role models for other men. So Red is ready. Red is ready.
I certainly hope so. The issue, do you think that's more of a German thing as opposed to French or Italian or other nationalities?
Well,
Hiding your emotions?
Well, people in the south, in France and in the Mediterranean Sea, there's more sun. They're more emotional. Yes, there are. They express more emotional, but men are the same. Men in this country are the same. They don't talk about their inner world. Yeah, they're emotional. Yeah, they're excited about football or whatever. Yes, they are. But they're also, especially in the south, men are very cool. Never weak. This macho. No. Actually, it's worse in the south. It's when I look at men's world. Men's work, more and more men's group are coming up. I become a part of the crew of 2 men's festivals this year in June and July here in the German-speaking countries. There are no men's festivals, there are no men's group in the South countries. No, not at the moment. It takes more time. This macho feeling. No, absolutely not. But they're emotional, but not emotional about themselves.
Oh, so Oktoberfest isn't an emotional men's event.
Well, I to be honest, many years ago, I was every year was at the Oktoberfest. I was part of this chic career stuff, but I never go again because to be honest, it's quite, you have to see it, especially when you come from the US, you have to see the Oktoberfest. It's an amazing festival. Yeah, it is, but I went there for more than 12 years.
Yeah. I was at Munich for a couple of them, so I'm familiar with what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's too much alcohol, and it's actually it's a lot of fake, because I all the people I met there, and I know exactly what it's the inner world, but in the outer world they show a different emotion, and I enjoyed it. Yes, it's a lot of fun. And by the way, when we talk about the Oktoberfest, ladies and gentlemen, when you want to go for the first time, never go alone, and never go alone with your wife. You can bring your wife, but go with a bunch of people, And the point is, when you're sober, you don't understand what's going on. So you want to bring fun and go with a bunch of people. Being alone is actually, when you're very talkative and very open. Okay, people, you can party with other people, but never go as a couple. It's really boring as a couple. You have to go with a bunch of friends and really party. Don't look left or right. Go on the table, dance, whatever you want to do, but go with a group of people. It's much more fun than going by yourself or going as a couple.
Well, I agree with you. I have gone there as maybe one night by myself, but other nights with other people. And you're absolutely right. The one secret that I'll tell you, because sometimes when things get full and you're in line to get into the tent and they won't let you in because there's too many people inside, go around to the back where the toilets are at, the restroom. You can go in the back door. Nobody stops you. Absolutely. So all you have to do is just walk around to the back of the tent, walk in, and just find a place and pretend like you know what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. No, Oktoberfest is really fun, but you have to go with a bunch of people to really party. You have to be with a lot of people and party. It's much more fun. Absolutely, it's much more fun.
Okay,
absolutely.
So Oktoberfest is the beginning of fall. Now we're talking about spring, so maybe that's a good segue to get into our topic today.
Yeah. Oktoberfest is always end of August, beginning of September. Yeah. We're talking about spring. I was thinking about this topic, and I don't know how the climate is in Texas. I mean, actually, in my home country in Austria, we have these 4 seasons. Cold winter, then spring. Everything is blowing, blooming. Animals give birth to the babies, and it's beautiful. Sun is coming out. Then we have summer. Then we have autumn. Then spring. But I spent my last 14 years and now traveling 15 years in Spain, and we only had 2 seasons. We had hot summer, and then in November, when the rain is coming, everything is growing and blooming, and the sheep give birth. We have spring, so we had summer and spring. But for me, to be honest, when I look back at the last 2 years with this pandemic and all this things happening, spring for me is hope. spring for me is a metaphor for hope, especially for people who are suffering, maybe losing their job or their relationship is breaking, whatever. Like autumn and winter, when everything dies, plants are dying, everything is dying. The leaves fall off the trees and nothing is growing much, but everything dies, and then spring comes, and I believe spring is only possible because there was a winter before. So sometimes the old stuff die, that the new stuff can grow. And so I also see spring not only as a time, after winter, these 3 months. I also see spring as a hope for people that said, okay, sometimes when you face a challenge, losing a job, losing a partner, whatever it is, sometimes something has to die that something new can come. This transformation process. I don't know how you see this.
Well, I can understand that based on where you're from in Central Europe. Me, I'm kind of a tropical kind of guy. I don't like anything below 20 degrees Celsius. It gets in the 50s and 60s. I hibernate. I just don't like that. And so when I go to tropical places, there is no winter. You may have a dry and you may have a wet season, but there's no winter. It seems like flowers bloom all year long. There's generally not a problem. However, living in Texas, we do have a short season. We may not, I can remember 2 or 3 years in a row, not ever even getting to freezing, but you still have the situation where the leaves fall off the trees. Everything's dormant. Then again, in the springtime, usually around February, March, you start seeing a little bit of a growth. And then obviously anytime from now on, you're just seeing trees go crazy with new sprouts. And you have the pollen season. And then everything is just coated with yellow. And then you get through that season. Now you're into the growth of something else. Now the grasses are starting to grow. Now you have new kinds of pollen. So it's a transition, obviously. And I think that's what spring really is. It's a transition. We go from a semi-dormant, bleak, deadish into a transitional, incremental vibrancy of, okay, we're kind of dull over here. Now all of a sudden, our world is bright again. And that's where I see is that it's that transition. You go from something that's noticeably different, and then we have incremental changes, and then we're back to a permanent, flowers are blooming, everything's green, and that kind of world. So when I look at spring, yes, it's an awakening, it's a transition, and it's definitely a time for new growth in many, many areas. And whether that's something you haven't, we have a term here in the States, spring cleaning. You get, and you start, that part of the room, you work your way around and you get everything clean so that now you can enjoy life again.
I'm absolutely. I'm just smiling because about two hours ago, I met a friend and asked me what's the topic of the show today, and I said spring awakening. So I said, what in a man show you're talking about spring awakening? What are your thoughts, Roland? I hope our producer, Dr. Jacqueline, is not killing me after the show. But I will become 60 next year. But I feel the spring almost every morning when I wake up.
Well, in the States, when you have the daylight savings, they say spring forward and fall back. In other words, the clock changes. So in springing, a transition or awakening, you're going forward. And that forward, I think it was aptly named, even though we changed in the clocks. But I think it does make it's a mental difference because we're seeing daylight longer. That's a big deal.
Absolutely.
And unless you're living on the equator or somewhere down south, that change in having an hour or two more of light per day, I think is a major improvement in our psyches, in the way we think, the way we feel. Yes, we wake up, it might be an hour earlier than what we normally used to wake up to if we're using, the window sunlight as part of our awakening process. But it really does, it makes the body feel different. That extra sunlight gives us, I believe, a little bit more charge to go do things, right? And when you're almost done, okay, it's getting ready to get dark. Well, I still have 2 more hours of daylight. I have more things to do. So on both ends of the spectrum, in the morning and especially late in the afternoon, you have the time to enjoy those things that 3, 4, 5 months ago you couldn't enjoy.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm grown up in Austria. We have really 4 seasons, and we have hard winter, summer with a lot of snow, really very, very cold, a lot of snow, where you spend a lot of time inside at home, and you have a lot of time to reflect and think and spend more time with your family because you kind of go out all the time. And then when spring is coming, this positive vibe, this motivation. Then also, when you go in a city or in a village, the terraces open again. You can sit outside to have a coffee with friends. People are come together, communicate more. The girls, they wear less textiles, less clothes. It's nice to see. I mean, I'm always, when I'm one with one, but I always say, when I was married, I'm with you. Oh, absolutely. I don't cheat on you, but God didn't make me blind, so I can enjoy the city. So everything is, it's a positive emotion. As I said, we have more daylight, more sun is coming out. More sun, we produce more vitamin D. We get it's an awakening, absolute awakening. And I love spring, to be honest. I love spring. Also, when I've been living in Spain, after this hot summer, but it's also dying. In Austria, the dying was in autumn and winter when the snow comes and you don't see the plants, nothing is growing anymore. In Spain, it was so hot that everything was dying too because the whole island was dry, totally dry. So we had after summer, what was kind of dying winter. We had the spring where water comes, it's raining, and everything is growing. The island gets green again and stuff like that. I love spring because, as I said at the beginning, spring for me is hope. It's hope.
Well, I think you hit on one thing that really. I lived in Germany for a couple of years in the late '90s, and I really and truly enjoyed the outdoor sit down, have dinner, have a beer, whatever it may happen to be, and just people watch. Sit there and chat for a couple hours. Nobody bothers you. Whether you're in France or Italy or whatever, the outdoor environment to sit, to just do things that normally you'd be stuck inside a restaurant or inside a building someplace at a bar, that is a totally different experience. Absolutely.
Sitting outside on a terrace, just taking a coffee or having a lunch or dinner is a different atmosphere than sitting inside. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Because you get the vibe from the street. You get the energy of the city. Sitting in a closed room. Especially, I love traveling, and when I go, I don't know, where you go to Paris or to London or to Rome or Florida, whatever. When you sit outside, you get the full vibe of the city too. Absolutely. Yeah, it's absolutely different atmosphere. Yeah, and I don't know, Red, what your experience is, but it many times happened to me that I'm somewhere in the world, sitting outside, enjoying this amazing food and this wine. Then I bought some bottles of wine and then I drink them at home, and I don't like them anymore because everything around is missing. It happens to me. I don't know if you know Redzina. Redzina is this Greek wine, this very strong Greek wine. I love them in Greece, but I cannot drink them in other places in the world. I cannot drink them because it's not the atmosphere, it's not the music, it's not the smelling of the sea. I don't know how about you, but it happened very, very often. I travel somewhere, I have an amazing food. This wine is amazing. I bring some bottles home, and at home, it tastes different. No, it's the same wine, but everything else is not here.
I don't necessarily have that same recollection. I enjoy the foods that I'm eating there. I don't generally bring the foods home, so that's not a problem. The wines or beers are a little bit different because they are transportable a lot more so than food. And if I have, let's say I have a really good tasting dry red wine, Spain, whatever. In fact, to tell you what, I did have something like that because Tempranillo wine is usually a red wine. Well, in Spain, they have a white Tempranillo. And I didn't realize it at the time. And I get back to the States and I'm trying to find it. I finally find some. It took a long time. And I'm sitting there tasting, and I could enjoy that same wine, even though it may not have been the brand, but it was the same grape, because I was really pulling on the imagination that I had when I first had it. And so, and maybe it's, I hear what you're saying, but I don't have that same, I don't have the same experience as you do with regard to, and maybe it's the rest of the environment that you were enjoying more so than just the wine. It was all the other camaraderie of the music and the smell, the aroma, the people, that you may have just pulled everything in as opposed to just the sensation on the tongue.
Absolutely. It's the full package, because it didn't only happen with wine, it also happened with cheese or sausage or something. And that's cool. And then always, this typical man, the hunter, gathering stuff and buying stuff, bring it home. And it's not the same, because it was the full package. It was the full package. Yeah, and this is spring. In spring, this the air is different. The sun is out. Everything is there. You can feel the sparkling. This for me, this sparkling energy. People are positive. They're more motivated. They're happy to be out again. Meet other people, and this is energy.
But one of the things I do, whether I'm on a beach in Bermuda or say down in Tokyo, it doesn't matter where I'm at. When I find that kind of really unique experience, I will just sit there for more than 3 or 4 or 5 minutes and just literally look and smell and listen and feel that particular experience, so that if I close my eyes and I open them back up and I can see and just kind of memorize that particular feeling in my life at that time. And it may be even just a feeling of walking on a cobblestone road in Spain or whatever, or the smell when you to a pier area of the shipping and sailboats and the sound, the birds. There's just so many things that if you just really just take a moment and not just look at it, but absorb everything you possibly can with regard to the way the breeze is hitting you, the sounds. And so when I do that and I think about places I've been to, and whether it happens to be with the food or without the food or drink. So I have a lot of those experiences that when I think about things that I've seen, that experience, that sunrise particularly, I think some of the best sunrises I've ever seen in my life are from the Azores. For whatever reason, we're out pre-flighting our aircraft, and you're out there generally before daylight. So you're walking back and forth across the flight ramp, and you're walking out of the building, and all of a sudden the sun's coming up in the reds and the pinks and everything. Just remarkable. And then other times there's those experiences. I had one flying back to the United States. We were flying near Greenland, and the sun was setting. And it was one of those unique experiences. If you look out the window for about 1 minute, you catch it, where there's a fjord in Greenland. The sun is sitting right on the very tip top of the land, shining right down the middle of the fjord, and you're seeing a little bit of light shimmering back and forth. And it's one of those remarkable things. If I hadn't been there a minute or 2 minutes earlier or later, I would never have seen that perfect picture. That's one of those things that just stays in my mind forever. But I think when we're looking at spring, I think all of us have a tendency to think spring is one of those things that we really enjoy, because winter, everything's dying and getting colder and darker. But spring, I think we all have that feeling of new growth, new trend, things that we are just allowing ourselves to do that, okay, this year I'm going to do this, or this year, and that spring kind of is a catalyst to make that happen.
Yeah. And I also think it's a mention that also many, I can talk about myself, is when I walk around and said, oh, there's a flower blooming. I love that because I didn't see them for a few months because everything was in Spain burned down or in Austria covered with snow. And I look around and I said, oh, it's a flower. Actually, today I was walking my dog here, where I'm here in the forest. And I said, yesterday I was traveling down here. It took me 7 hours. Normally it's 3 hours, because my navigation system led me through over three mountains. Three mountains. It was snowing here, still snowing in the mountains. And I was so happy when I was walking my dog today and I said, flowers there. Yeah, I guess we men also have a sense for this. We also have a sense for it. But I want to come back to this topic, Red, when I was thinking about, and it also has something to do with spring, is what I learned from this experience, with this wine, for example, enjoying it here on the beach, and then bring it home, doesn't take it. What my learning experience was, Roland, be in the present moment. Enjoy it now. Don't think about bringing it home and having it again. No, enjoy it right now. Be in the present moment. And the same with the spring, be in the present moment. Enjoy this flower, or enjoy the sun that's coming out. Enjoy the first time to be outside on a terrace with friends, having a coffee or whatever. It's actually, that's what we should all learn more in our society, is being more in the present moment, and don't think about tomorrow or next week or all these plans we have. I guess spring is something that really reminds me all the time, be in the present moment.
Well, I think spring allows that opportunity, because if you've been in the colder, the windier, the whatever that darkness that we survived, and we're getting to that spring transition, now all of a sudden you walk outside, it's a nice day, it's bright, it's sunshiny, you're hearing the birds, you're hearing things, you're seeing flowers, and we've seen them before. but that exposure to it right now is a moment, and you just kind of and just inhale all of that. So yes, you're right about being in the moment, and that's one of the things. When I find something I really enjoy, I just kind of step back mentally and physically and emotionally, and I just want to just kind of what is going on. I can remember every so often I'm sitting in Hong Kong outside at a table, and because of the sounds and because of the breeze and the temperature, I can walk outside, and just that particular combination of things hits me, that it reminds me of that. Or sometimes I'm in a slightly different environment and it reminds me of Tahiti or someplace. Oh, I'm back where I was. And so that I'm being in the moment allows you to capture that moment again and again and again. And sometimes there's little tweaks to that moment that weren't there before, that you can add to it. But yes, I totally agree with you. Being in the moment, and I think spring exacerbates that being in the moment, because we have so many moments that we can be in, and we just need to choose them and just enjoy them. Just enjoy life.
Absolutely. I guess spring is also a good time to reconnect with nature. We also, especially for those people living in cities, are very, very busy. It's a good time to reconnect with nature and really to observe and wonder like a kid, about something is growing again, or a baby sheep, or I saw a baby fox, for example, when all these babies are coming out of baby deers, and really just be there and watch and say, wow, what amazing, there's nature and it's growing again, and it's a miracle all the time. Everything is dead and then it's a miracle. And really to be this, this, yeah, like a little child, and just stay there with open mouth, being in the present moment, as you said, smell the air, listen to the birds singing, and reconnect with nature. It's a good time, because we really deserve it, to reconnect with nature and get out in nature, getting into fresh air, and get out of this stress and noise and whatever it is. Absolutely.
Well, Roland, one of the things I do usually toward the end of December to the holidays, beginning of the new year, I start looking at what is my return on my investment for what I have my time invested in. If I'm paying this much for subscription to this, what am I getting out of it? My time, I go here, I volunteer here. What am I? And usually about every 2 years, I will have give this one up, take up something new. But I don't take it up in the wintertime. I take it up. I transition where okay, fine. I make a conscious effort not to change. Okay, I'm giving up this time and I'm going to take something new. I want to enjoy just a little bit of that, not doing something, and then pick up something new. And I find that spring, I didn't really realize it until we had this conversation, but I usually let it go a month or two, where now my world is changing around me. I can see it because the days are longer. And that's when I say, okay, fine. Now I have more time. At least that's my feeling, my rationalization, that now I can pick up something new, that let's go to this particular event or that, whatever it may happen to. And even when I just want to go on a weekend trip with my wife somewhere, I don't do it in the wintertime unless it's a Christmas, event of some type, but I have more time to go do these things here. So I use that transition from the dead of winter. I want to be doing something new in spring and summer, but I actually have a dead time, and then I transition in the spring to, okay, fine. Okay. I know that I'm going to be busy from 11 to 12 on Tuesdays, because that's what I want to do. Let me try it out for a month or two and see what's going on. If I don't like it, okay, I give it back up and I look for something else. But that spring to me becomes, as you pointed out, it's an awakening for something new for me in my life.
I can absolutely relate to this, because I was just thinking about when I was in a transition process, doing a new job, a new business, stop the old one, starting something new. Sometimes with a free will, sometimes I was forced to, or ending a relationship, starting a relationship. It was always in the transition time in spring, so the transition from winter to summer, after winter, or it was in autumn, what is also transition time on the other way. It was never in summer, it was never in winter. Yeah, interesting.
But in the old days, we couldn't get some vegetables and fruits because they were only growing at a certain time of the year. Now you can go in the middle of winter and get fresh fruits from South America or Africa or some other place in the world, because the transportation system's there, everything's set up so that I can get, fresh whatever I'm looking for almost year round. And that's something that we used to never have. And so in the old days when I wanted fresh whatever, fill in the blank, it was only available for that period of time from, maybe, April through September, and that was it. Now, it seems, blood oranges, for instance, that's one that I really love, but they only seem to be available in late November at the earliest to about middle of April, and then they're gone again. But if I wanted tomatoes or I wanted some other particular kind of fruit or vegetable, in the old days, I couldn't get it. Nowadays, it's no longer marked by, okay, I can't wait for the tomatoes to be available, or whatever I'm looking for. And so even our technology and everything else that's supporting us is kind of eroding some of those old landmarks that we used to use for noting, okay, now it's springtime.
Absolutely. And to be honest, I started many years ago not buying any more fruits and vegetables out of season. I stopped buying them exported because I want to have this experience again, like a child, it's strawberry time or it's tomato time or it's grape time. And because when you have it all the time, yeah, you get used to it. You're not grateful anymore about it. And I stopped it years ago. I said, okay, no, I don't buy it anymore because first of all, I don't want to support that it comes thousands of miles from somewhere else. And since that time, I'm really looking forward. Strawberry season started in Spain. It starts in March. I love strawberries. I can't wait. But I said, I only eat them in this time. Or grape times, we have here the grapes in July, August. I love grapes. Or asparagus is time now. So, and I enjoy it much more. And by the way, I did an interview with a lady from Spain. We talked Czeching together, and I also learned about only eat certain meat in a different in a season where they're slaughtered and not the whole year. So, and since I do this, I enjoy it much more. I'm really looking forward to get it. Like a child. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I like to pick up the tomatoes and smell them, and if I can actually smell a tomato, I know it's reasonably fresh. But it's like roses and some other things. You can't smell a rose with a really beautiful rose. There's no odor or aroma to it. Same thing, a beautiful tomato, you can't smell anything. Now I cut it open, it kind of tastes okay. I put a little bit of salt and pepper on it, let it sit there about 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Oh, it's juicy as can be because it's just been transitioned and brought back to life with that little bit of seasoning. But strawberries, I love strawberries. And I lived in California for a while, and you could get them, really fresh, or tomatoes really fresh. And you're right, there is a different taste and texture to them when they come right off the vine. But when you can get a fresh tomato or fresh strawberries in February, and you're thinking, okay, they may have been fresh 2 weeks ago in Chile, but they had to be picked a little bit early. They had to be stored a certain way. They had to be transported. They had to be handled by 14 other people that I don't know. And then all of a sudden they show up in my store.
Yeah, absolutely. I love strawberries, but I also love tomato with mozzarella and basil. I love it. It's one of my favorites.
Caprese.
Yeah, I absolutely love it, but I only eat it in season because it doesn't taste. It's not the same when you eat it out of season. It doesn't taste because when the tomato is not really mature and rich, it's smelling and tasting.
I never knew what caprese was. I was in Cuneo, Italy, a small town near the French Alps, and I'm in there. I'm having something to eat, and I walk back, and I'm seeing people's plates. They have caprese on it. So the waiter comes over, and I said, "What is that?" And they said caprese. I said, "We'll take one just to try it." Fell in love with it, and everywhere else we went in Italy, we always ordered some more, and even here in the United States. But there it was with burrata. A little fresher mozzarella cheese, which you can find in buffalo, and so it's hard to find the buffalo mozzarella here. It doesn't have the same texture, the same taste, the same. Well, it's not a whole lot of aroma in the mozzarella, but still the same. But you're right. it's what the food is, but it doesn't quite taste the same. And so it's, and again, it's as we go through the seasons, there are expectations for fall, there's expectations for spring, just like there is for winter and fall. So I guess you're getting ready to do some more travel. You know, the additional daylight, the additional time is going to, you know, facilitate a lot more opportunity for you. And you're in that transition now of being able to do that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know, as I said, what I also love on spring is actually, as an Austrian, you know, it prepares me for the summer heat. Really, because it's very cold, and in the summer it's quite warm, and it's this transition to prepare me for the heat. Because I always love to do in warm countries, but it's not because of the heat. Because I really enjoy a blue sky. You know, when you raise up in a country like Austria, actually from October, November until March, you have a gray sky, and this is not good for your mood. Yeah. and I love the summer for the blue sky. It's not for the heat.
Yeah, in your terminology, I love it between 30 and 40 degrees. That to me is, you know, that's my most enjoyable time. I don't mind a little bit hotter than 40. I don't mind a little bit colder than 30. And for the American audience, that's about 86 on the 30 and a little over 100 degrees on the 40. But that to me, especially if I look out and the highest thing in sight's a curb, I don't like mountains, and I love humidity. I don't like dry. And so for me, hot, flat, and humid, I'm a happy camper. But that's me. That's not the norm. So when I'm here in Texas and I can, you know, see the horizon as far as the eye can see, and I open the door and it's hot and wet, I'm in heaven. I'm small h. I'm really and truly enjoying it. But if I'm there, let's say in Germany, and I open the door and there's snow around here, there, and yonder, and the wind is blowing, and I'm bundled up, yes, I'm there. There are things that I can enjoy, but I'm not a happy camper. I'm just a camper.
Okay. Well, I like the hot, but the problem with the hot is I'm not motivated to work. I hang around like a dead fly. You know, I can hang on a pool or on the beach. Yeah, it's okay. But for me, it's very difficult to work. Well, I get up early in the morning. I walk my dog very early in the morning in hot summer, and very late in the evening because the dog is suffering too. But I'm suffering too. I'm not. What I mean is, I'm just hanging around. I don't know. I don't have the energy. I don't have the motivation to work. Well, that's why I love spring. You know, because spring is not cold like winter. There's more blue sky. There's more sunlight, but it's not so hot like summer. So I'm more productive in springtime.
But I think it's more mental than physical. I think we adapt, and when you wake up, you're hungry. Well, maybe you're dehydrated and not hungry. To me, I have absolute enjoyment going out there from 11 to 4 and working outdoor. I have to pace myself because it is hot. I sweat a lot. I love to sweat, but I also have to, you know, get a little bit of sun protection. Got to, you know, maybe it was 5 minutes ago, I sat down, took a 2 or 3 or 4 minute break. I get back up and I start doing whatever I'm doing. And maybe this time I'm working for a half hour. Okay, let's take another break. I'm very keenly aware of my physiological condition, because if I'm in an area, let's say high desert in California, it may be 105, 14% humidity, and you're out there working, you're sweating, but there's no physical perspiration. All of a sudden, you go hours and hours and hours, you're drinking a lot of stuff and you're never going to the bathroom. That's equally as bad, because your body is perspiring. It's just not perspiring with wetness. And so you're drying out, and that can become very dangerous. So yes, I love to sweat. I love to work outside. I love the heat, but I also have to pace myself. I have to hydrate myself. But these are things I've learned over time, that if I'm going to enjoy it, I need to enjoy it fully. And, you know, so if I'm doing whatever, okay, let's say it's 100 degrees outside in the Texas afternoon. Maybe I just go for a walk. Maybe I'm not going to go out there and work in the garden, but I remember one August here, I think we had 100 degrees every single day for 31 days. And I'm outside working in the yard probably from about 1 o'clock to 3, just pulling weeds and hoeing things here, there, and yonder. And just, to me, total enjoyment.
Okay. Well, the close-ups, but just something about hot and summer. You know, when I moved to Spain a few years ago, what I found out interesting in Spain, and I saw it also in Portugal and in Greece, the indigenous, or the Spanish people, the Greece people, or the Portuguese people, in summer, they really hide. Everything shut down, dark, everything, only the tourists are boiling or barbecuing in the sun or whatever. But and actually, when you go out in a restaurant, you will never see a Spanish or Portuguese or Greek families having lunch in the sun. They're always sitting in the shadow, or most of them sitting inside with air condition. The tourists sit outside because they're suffering. The frozen Scandinavians, the frozen Germans or Austrian, they're really desperate for sun.
Yeah, well, I see we're out of time, and I'm going to tell you right now, I will not be here next week. I have a military reunion in New Orleans, so I will see you in a couple of weeks, and just to give you a heads up on that right now.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks, Red. And we're closing. Time is running. So also men can discuss about spring, ladies and gentlemen. If you missed part of the show or all the other shows, please go to our website, bonfiredocs.com. There are all recordings available. But you also can get in contact with us. If you have a topic that you want to have discussed, or even you want to join our discussion, feel free to do so. Red, thanks a lot. Have a good time in Texas. Howdy. Ladies and gentlemen, all the best. Thank you for watching and listening. And please recommend our show to your community. Thanks a lot, and bye-bye.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.